Should we count you down, guys?
No, you're all right. Evening, everyone. This is so embarrassing. Welcome to the first of a, what is this called? Photography Pubcast, is it, I guess? As you can see, there's 4 of us here, and we're just going to have a chat. You'll have to forgive us if there's any technical issues, because I'm in charge of that, and anything good, well, probably will go wrong. But hopefully this will come out okay, and there will be an interesting chat from it. So why don't we go round the group and have a chat about, you know, how our week's been. How's that sound? Who's first? Yeah, in your own time, no pressure.
Yeah, we should have had this.
Today we decided, well, Helen kind of decided that it's time to clear out the shed and have a bit of a spring clean. And I helped for about 10 minutes. Then I got a bit distracted and started filming a vlog in the back garden. And then I built a temporary hide on the pagoda. So I'm kind of geared up for next week's video now. So she done most of the cleaning. Well, she done all the cleaning, all the sorting out, and I just recorded a video.
So this hide, is this so you can shoot next door's cat or something?
Well, I bigged it up now. I said it's a hide. Obviously, I can't go out and buy anything, so all I had was a roll of black DPM. So it's just a bit of a black DPM painted over the pagoda with a little letterbox cut out. But
your neighbours might have something to say about that.
No, they can't see me. But when I bought my G Master, my 100 to 400, because I bought it second hand, and I opened up the box, and I've got it here actually. It came with all that camo.
Oh, nice
stuff. So not that it makes no difference on what I'm shooting, but I'll put it on today anyway. Really. Oh yes, it was all good, mate.
So you're in your back garden with a telephoto lens, hiding, shooting the neighbours' birds. Yeah, is that what you're doing? The garden birds?
Yeah, well, you need to edit this video, mate. Seriously. I don't know why I shared that.
This is just going to be, you know, the comments are just going to be, oh, for God's sake, well, can someone shut Darren up? It's just called Darren. Darren never shuts up. Stop going on, Darren.
I'll put that comment in.
What about you, Jamie? What have you been up to, mate?
Well, you know, I've been out all over the place, travelling around, you know, as we are not doing at the moment. I've been observing my 3 lads in the garden creating a bit of a landscape, because our garden has been so overgrown in the last 2 or 3 years, and I've had quote after quote landscapers to come in and you know, spend thousands on it, and I'm just too tight, to be fair, to spend all that money on the back garden. So we've paid our kids to do the back garden while they're here doing nothing and isolated. So I've been watching them doing all the hard work from in here while I've been in the PC, and they've done a cracking job, to be fair to them. So they've landscaped the all the borders. They've chucked all the stuff in the middle of the because the other thing is we filled our green bin up, and the council haven't taken the green bin, so I've got an overflowing green bin, and I've got loads of shrubs and broken stuff in the garden now. So I just said to the wife, I said, should we have a bonfire, because that might please the neighbours if we if we just have a bonfire in the garden to get rid of it. But probably not going to go down well at all. So yeah, I've been not doing a lot at all, if I'm honest, just watching those hard working in the garden. So yeah, so my area isn't great for photography, not like Dave's, of course, where you can just take a walk down his lane and find an old derelict building with a sunset behind it. Yeah, I've got pretty built up around here. So my garden, I'm thinking about doing some ICM in the garden, Darren. Can you give me some tips? 'Cause I'm going to get some bushes and trees and just do some ICM with some shrubs. Do you think that'll work?
Well, I went to, where did I go? I went to Wyman Brook. My next video is from Wyman Brook, and I shot that on the 14th of March. So that was the day of the photography show. And I think probably the best shot from that video is a photo that I took by mistake. I pressed the shutter button. I was actually moving the camera, and it was ICM, and it looked really good. I'd done no processing to it. I just stuck a white border around it, and I'm really pleased with it. So I think it was about, I don't know, it must have been about a second, I suppose. So yeah, give a second to go, mate, and see what you come up with.
That's literally every shot I take.
What a mistake on a second.
No, a mistake. Yeah, stick a white border around it, put it out. No one will notice. We should be all right.
Yeah, I don't know that.
What about you then, Dave? What have you been up to, mate? Well, we've seen what.
To be fair, well, yeah, but actually, in some respects, it's business as usual because I work from home anyway, and because of what I do, I've still got quite a lot of work on. And so it's been a normal week in that respect. I wouldn't be in the mountains on a weekday as a rule. So, what's going to happen tomorrow morning is me and Mrs. G will have a big falling out because I got to spend the day with her rather than be up a mountain.
I think that's
I'll tell you what I've really enjoyed on the vlogging front is not having to bugger about with B-roll. Sorry, Jamie, can you do the swear thing? Is not having to about with B-roll. Because it just makes it so much quicker and easier. I mean, you park your A-roll camera up, you talk. I can talk for England, well, Wales, and so I can do that a bit easy. And so doing these little short vlogs has been really enjoyable because I can crank them out really easy. Also, they tend to be one shot. So there's not, I've got to find a load of shots, I've got to spend a whole day on a hill and all that sort of thing. So I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'm sure that in about a week's time, I'll be pig sick of it and desperate to get my tent out and get up the hills. But for now, I'm quite enjoying the change and the lack of pressure. So I know it's much, much harder for a lot of people, but yeah, my heart goes out to the likes of you boys, because at the end of the day, you haven't got the hills on your doorstep, and it's a tough gig at the moment.
I'll be honest, mate. Too many weekends spent with your missus, you'll probably end up on the hills in a tent anyway, wouldn't
you? Yeah, permanently.
Exactly.
I'd end up like Nev Cartledge.
Yeah.
That's terrible, wasn't it, Nev?
Yeah. Saw that he got attacked. Did he get attacked or he got...
Yeah.
Yeah. One bloke apologised and broke into tears, and the other guy wouldn't back down and basically told him to bugger off. So, that's a bit slow.
There's a delay on the line.
I'll give you a 5-second countdown next time.
I was thinking about Nev actually, and I mean obviously all the shops are shut, but funny enough, before we put that video out, I was thinking about him. And I don't know if he could just put a sign or something kind of almost in the window saying, I'm not on holiday, this is my home. Because I don't know where I think he's heading back home now. He's back to Yorkshire, isn't he? But
well, I've offered him, I've said he can park up in the yard.
Yeah,
the problem he's got is that I found out today, North Wales Police are turning people around.
Are they?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure he could talk his way past them, but nevertheless, it's not going to make life easy for him, even trying to get here.
Yeah.
Nightmare. Absolute nightmare situation for some people, isn't it? I think that's the thing, though, that the whole stay indoors is a really great message. But the problem is that when there are people who can't stay indoors, you're going to get people who start to turn vigilante on them, almost say, you're taking the mick, when actually they're just living out of a van anyway. So I'm not really.
Yeah.
I think there's an awful lot of keyboard warriors at the moment who are very much sort of.
Oh, not just that, mate. Not just that. There's been full on pitchforks and flaming torches around here.
Oh, really?
There's holiday cottages in the village. There's a bunch. There's one particular cottage is owned by a woman whose daughter, who's youngster, 20s or something, a couple of little kiddies, and a bunch of mates in tow have come to stay there for the duration. Now, the locals aren't best pleased about that because we've only got 11 intensive care beds for the whole of Gwynedd and Anglesey. So they've been told in no uncertain terms they're about as welcome as a fart in a spacesuit, and they the likelihood is if they ride it out here, when they go home, they probably put their holiday home straight on the market because they're not going to want to have their holidays here after that, I don't think. And it's a pity. I was talking to a guy from the village earlier today, and quite rightly, he said, the thing is they got little kiddies with them, and, they got literally a crowd around the door telling them to get off home, and the police have turned up and said, look, we can't actually turn them around and send them home. It goes against advice, but it's not illegal. So, and ordinarily mild-mannered people are starting to become a bit mental.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the appeal that where people in the first place would have thought, I'll get away from the big cities, I'll go out somewhere. But the problem is that then puts a massive strain of resources on those smaller areas. And equally, those idiots going up Snowdon, and I mean, there's still people now going into the Peak District. Like, that's great. You're going to get the isolation, brilliant. But what happens if you fall over? What happens if you have an accident? People are then going to have to use their resources to come out and look after you, which is just stupid.
Well, that's the big argument I've had this week with this guy that went up Snowdon after the lockdown, tried to claim it wasn't, but he was the only person there, so don't see how he expects anyone to believe that. Put the video up saying, oh, look, I'm on the summit of Snowdon and I got it all to myself. And I just said to him, look, what happens if you twist an ankle and Mountain Rescue got to come out to you? Oh, yeah, but I live in the mountains. I know what I'm doing and this, that and the other. So I had a discussion with him, a frank and open exchange of views. And as I say, that's why I was just deleting some abusive comments off one of my latest ones from his sidekicks. But it's interesting because if you take the likes of Nick Livesey's cottage is right on the flank of Moel Shabod. Now, Nick is sitting in his own garden. He's not even walking onto the hill out of his own garden. And this is a guy who knows a bit about how things work in the mountains. And for me, that is the benchmark. If Nick Livesey says, I'm not even going to walk out of my garden, well, there you go. That's enough said. Yeah. So, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, if I find out anybody has flaunted that particular advice, I'll call them out on it all day long. I don't care who I upset.
I must admit, I've got mixed feelings. Where was it? It was the weekend, I think, before the lockdown, when just everyone flooded to Snowdonia, the Peak District, the beaches, everything was heaving. And I know, that people like that did get a lot of stick, but I can't help but kind of play and say devil's advocate, because I think the advice was at the time that, not to be kind of socialising inside and to kind of get out in open spaces. And I'm just wondering how many of them people, when they went to places like Snowdonia and the lakes, perhaps they normally go there, wasn't expecting that volume of people. They all probably thought, oh, we'll go away where it's quiet, and we'll get away from it. But, probably everybody had the same idea. But I did think at the time that I'm not going to come down too hard on them people on that particular weekend. But after all the uproar, I thought if it happened the following weekend, which was it this weekend?
That's this weekend, yes.
Yeah. If we hadn't gone into lockdown, if it would happen again this weekend, then I would have, I wouldn't have been too best pleased with them. But I'm just cutting them a little bit of slack because I don't know, we've never been through anything like this before. It's new to everybody. Everybody's trying to kind of work it out in their own mind.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I think you make a really fair point, which is why, I wasn't super upset, because you're right. People pitch up, oh, well, I'll just park wherever I can, because as you know, I mean, all four of us have been in the mountains. You can go to a busy car park and you walk 50 metres and there's nobody because everybody spreads out. And suddenly, I know Snowdon Summit isn't like that. I get that. But nevertheless, that's a bit of an exception to the rule. So you're right, Darren. People probably thought, well, OK, we park up. I'm not going to be like shoulder to shoulder with somebody else. So the minute we head off, we're out by ourselves.
Yeah.
I went to Norway and walked around, and I was pretty much the only person there, apart from a couple of rock climbers, and they were halfway up a rock face where I was never going to get close to them in a million years. But I could see it happening. I was looking down the valley at Penapass, not Penapass, down into Lamberis. It was heaving, and I thought, oh dear, that's not going to go down well. But I think you make a really good point. I think it was people thinking, plus the fact people probably thinking, well, when are we going to be able to go and do this again?
Well, that particular weekend, I mean, I was meant to be in the Lake District that weekend.
Yeah.
Driving on the Friday night, I was driving up to Mally's. I was staying in like a little Premier Inn on the Friday night, then jumping in with Mally on the Saturday, going to the lakes, coming back, staying in a Premier Inn, and then coming home. And it was
Mally was going to swing by my parents' place and pick me up without telling you boys.
Oh, really?
We had it fixed up that I was coming too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I must admit, I felt rough actually at the beginning of that week, and I actually had a couple of days off because it was just a common cold, but my eyes just water when I get a cold, like really bad hay fever. So when I've got a cold, it's really obvious that I've got a cold. And, I know some people at work were kind of like joking around, but I could tell that they was nervous. They was, and I just thought, I'm going to take a couple of days off. And I didn't take them off for me. I actually took the days off to protect them. Not protect them from a cold, but kind of just to stop them from freaking out, which is, I would never have taken a couple of I had a mild cold, but I looked worse than what I was. I felt absolutely fine. But at the moment, you say about these people, Dave, who've got the holiday cottage. At the moment, people are just freaking out. They really are about anything, real kind of minor things, which they normally wouldn't. And you can't even blame them because it's scary times at the moment,
But it's little things that you don't think about consciously. Like you said, all these people that are going to these car parks, getting out of their cars, going up the hills and going to the beaches. Most of those car parks have got a pay machine or a cash machine. They've got to get a ticket. So they're going up to that machine, they're keying in their registration number or they're doing whatever, they're touching the machine, they're not thinking. And we all consciously, as soon as we've done something, we'll scratch your face or whatever, and that's the things that they're telling us not to do. So it's just contact with things generally, and you've got even if there's a queue of people standing 2 meters behind each other, they're still touching the same keypad as you are. And it's just things like that people are not really thinking, and we're not thinking about it because we've never been in this before.
No.
And that's the thing that we've just got to stop. And that's why this stay-at-home thing is so important, because things like that people wouldn't think about, and we're stopping them thinking about it by just saying, just don't do it, full stop.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stop picking my nose. Sorry, it's just all getting a bit heavy.
I had some latex gloves.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
It's all kicking off now.
No,
carry on.
I went through about, because I had to go to, I went into work yesterday because we're on a rota now. So I don't have to go back for another 10 days. There's 10 of us. And instead of being 10 people a day, it's just one person a day now. So I was on yesterday, and then I have not go back for 10 days. But yesterday at the college, I wore latex gloves, and I went through about five pairs. But even though my hands were just like prunes at the end of the day, it did actually stop me from touching my face. I think when they was on, when I'd go to, it was almost like a visual aid. So they did really help. They helped because there's so many door handles. Obviously at the college, you're constantly opening doors and closing doors, and so I'm quite pleased actually with them gloves.
Well, I saw something, I can't remember where I saw it, but basically they said, imagine that coronavirus is like glitter. Now, I know, have you ever had a card that's got glitter in it? And you open the card up and it's like, for the next month, glitter's like literally everywhere. It's on your face, on your hands, on your clothes, everywhere. You imagine like the coronavirus is like that. It's just, you as soon as you touch anything, it's so crazy, really. It's just absolutely crazy times. And I'll tell you what else is really funny as well, that we spend a lot of time watching the telly, and like I'll be like, oh, you can't do that anymore. Two people come up to me, give each other a hug, you can't do that anymore. Someone's shaking hands, no, you can't do that anymore. It's just crazy. It's just really crazy times.
Yeah, Boris has been announced a bit today, hasn't he?
Yeah, Boris and Matt Hancock as well.
And Chris Whitty as well.
Yeah. Or Chief Googly Eyes, as my daughter calls him.
Yes, that's Prince Charles as well.
But it just goes to, I heard a thing saying if you had, where people were talking about the percentage, so it's 3%, so if you had 100 M&Ms, would you eat them if you knew 3 of them were poisoned? You know, and there's so many of these analogies going round, but it's almost as if you've got to have a simple way of expressing it for the people who are too stupid to be allowed to have an opinion on anything. Because the basic common sense tells you, be bloody careful, because it's really nasty.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
Dad's getting a bit cold. He's putting some wood on the fire.
Sorry, mate. I don't want that to go out.
That's it. Priorities. Yeah. Don't worry about the podcast. Just you worry about your fire.
Yeah. Whose round is it?
What are we drinking anyway? So what have we got? I reckon you'll be able to tell a lot about people by what they're drinking. So
don't judge. I don't normally drink Foster's, but that was. I don't like to drink anything stronger, but I always drink Carlsberg. So I don't know how I ended up with Foster's, to be honest. Perhaps that's all we could get at the time. But yeah,
crazy days. Foster's is all you can have.
Well, I'm on the Black Sheep Ale from the Masham Brewery in Yorkshire. So Mr. Burns will be well happy with me for that, no doubt. An amber ale.
That's a nice beer. That's a very nice beer.
What about you, Dave? What are you on?
I'm afraid I'm slightly effeminate. I'm drinking gin and tonic.
How big is that glass?
I've got no excuse. Eh?
How big is that glass? Hold that up again.
All right, I'm drinking a lot of it. But I am supporting a local industry because it's actually distilled just over the Menai Strait between here and Colwyn Bay. It's Aber Falls. They take the water out of the falls and turn it into the most exquisite marmalade gin.
Well, I'm drinking Estrella, which is just up the road in Spain, in Barcelona. So I'm supporting my local Spanish industry. And also I've got some local Budweiser here as well for when the Estrella's run out. So, yeah, all good.
I struggle with Budweiser. That's almost like a last resort for me.
Is it?
That and San Miguel.
Oh, what is it?
I like that.
Is it gives you wind, Darren? Is that what you mean, or just like taste?
Yeah, it's nice. Just the taste, mate. That's all. I suffer with wind. Ask Dave.
I can't drink Stella. I can't drink Stella at all.
No.
It just tastes like chemicals. Stella, not a good beer for me. Not a good beer.
I went off lager when I turned 50. I think, and I've been a sort of an ale fan ever since. So that's an old age.
20 years, that's a long time.
I know, exactly. Yeah, I'm in the vulnerable category, me. That's why I've got to isolate. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just the taste. It's too gassy. It tastes like pop now. I like a nice slow drink of an ale. It's nice sitting in front of an open fire like Darren is there, like drinking an ale. Perfect in his armchair.
Slippers on.
Slippers on, yeah.
I must admit, if we do this next week, I might have to, not that you guys can see it, but over there is the chair that I bought from the pub. And that chair was the chair that I used to sit in every week at the pub for kind of 10 years. And when the pub went up for sale, I always said, if you ever want to get rid of that chair, I'll buy it. And when the pub went up for sale, I bought that chair. So I think if we do this next week, I might have to just move the computer around and actually sit in my pub chair.
Well, if we do this next week, I'll swing my computer around and show you my stripper and my pole dancer. what I've got here.
They could be the special guest, though.
Does Jan know
this is pub top trumps.
So when's the next? I know obviously we're all on lockdown, but have you got any plans for when we come out of isolation as to where to go?
Well, I've decided that I'm definitely going to go to Scotland as soon as I get the opportunity. Once we've come out of isolation, because I've never been, it's somewhere I really want to go, and I'm just like, I'm just going to do it now because, I'm not going anywhere. So at the moment, and money's just, I wouldn't say racking up, but I've got a little bit sort of because I'm not spending it on anything else. So we're going to go as a family, I think, to Scotland and do all the really like honeypot locations there, I think.
Brilliant. Good for you.
Watching Nev's vlogs and seeing those images that he put out on that vlog yesterday or the day before, it's just fantastic. And I think you're right, Gareth. I'd love to do Scotland. Those Scotch pines, isolated on the mountains with a bit of snow, that's just fantastic. And I'd love to get.
You need to be really careful though, because if you go in midgy season, you'll detest it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Just watch out when you go there.
I'm predicting this is going to last for about probably the rest of this year. So, so by the time I do get out, the midges will all be gone anyway. So, maybe coronavirus will jump over to them and sort them out. You never know. What about you guys? What are you up to? Where are you going? Darren, any thoughts on where you're off to? Or?
Well, I just want to get back to Snowdonia, obviously, as quick as possible. I mean, when me and Dave were there, when I was with Dave, was it about a month ago, Dave, when we did the Ridley Path? I really want to do the Nantler Ridge, and we could kind of see it from the Ridley Path, kind of really prominent. And we planned, obviously, this is before the lockdown, to do a wild camp up there. So the first opportunity, if possible, I just want to head straight back to Snowdonia. And hopefully get to the lakes as well. But as I say, the Snowdonia is so much more accessible for me. I can easily do that on a Friday to Sunday, where the lakes is, when I planned it with Mally and Jane, that was, a couple of hotels, because 600-mile round trip over a weekend, that's a lot of mileage, shooting and hiking and,
Plus the fact, of course, Snowdonia is far superior to the lakes.
Clearly.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm not going to disagree.
I'm going to sit on the
Is that for two viewers leaving us?
No, it's on my channel, mate. I've already gone.
So, my plans are obviously to hook up with Darren and do the Nantler Ridge. And, of course, you guys, if you could make it, that would be stunning. But I actually was on the verge of booking a flight to California. And so I had to put that on ice. But that will hopefully resurrect itself. There's a chap who is almost certainly a subscriber to all four of us, a guy called Jeff Ogden.
Yeah.
Any bells?
Yeah.
I met
The nicest American I've ever met.
Yeah,
by a country mile.
I was up in the lakes. I was up in the lakes a couple of weeks ago at work. Actually, we're doing some stuff at work to do with carbon capturing. So effectively, we're planting trees on the back of the materials that we use for work, and where we're planting the trees is on the Lowther estate. So I was up there for work, and while I was up there, I called Chris Sale and said, "You do fancy a beer?" And he did, and he had Jeff Ogden staying with him that week.
Brilliant!
So we had a beer and a bite to eat, the three of us. So yeah, really nice to meet Jeff. He's a really nice guy.
He's a lovely guy,
isn't he?
Yeah.
So anyway, he'd sort of thrown out this open invite, and there's a part of the High Sierras that I've been to a couple of times, but not with a camera. Back in the day when I went there a few times was fishing trips. So I contacted Jeff, because Jeff lives just over the Golden Gate Bridge, just north of San Francisco in Marion County. And he'd posted some pictures from the High Sierras. He tells me it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive from his place. So I said, well, if I fly into SFO, do you fancy a sort of 4 or 5 day road trip, cheap motels and spectacular scenery with cameras? So that's what I've got planned at some point. Kind of like last year I did Niagara. Mrs. G lets me do one a year at the moment, so I'm very grateful.
And Jamie, you going to Whiz Beach?
Yes, but yeah. To the fence. I was having that iconic estuary shot, of Neen just as it enters the wash.
Oh, yeah,
I'll get a beer, gents.
All right, mate, no worries. Or you could try Peterborough train station. That's always a good one, mate, as well.
I can never get there. There's too many people with cameras there already queuing. But actually, we've got a holiday booked in the lakes in June with the family. So I don't know whether this is going to be done by then or not. But that would have been my first time actually in the lakes taking pictures myself. I've never actually done it, so I was quite looking forward to that. But at the moment,
I think Gary made a good point, though. When you're saying it, I think it's going to drag on a fair bit, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got family events booked through till August, and we don't hold out much hope of any of them happening.
No. Well, I'm supposed to be in Florence next week. That was booked ages ago. I had a romantic trip with the wife for a long weekend in Florence, but clearly that got cancelled several weeks ago.
Well, it's a nice part of the world as well. That's a great pity.
Yeah, never been there, but we was looking forward to it as well. But it can wait. These places are still going to be there when this is all over.
I was going to say, you're planning a long weekend in Florence. Does your wife know? And who's Florence?
She just heard me, so yeah, probably.
No, you can't use that either. There's going to be some wicked jump cuts in this.
I'll pull that out. Don't worry. No one will see any of that.
Now, I just think this will make you laugh. Darren and I, when we first went out together, it's over a year ago, we were on the Watkin Path in Snowdonia. And we're only about an hour in, we caught this fantastic sunrise. We were stood there. And I can't remember why we got onto it, but we started talking about global warming. And basically it boiled down to, do we give a shit? Because we'll be long gone before. But I videoed it and I sent him the clip and he said, no, we can't use that. I said, no, you're right, we can't. But it was funny.
I just think of the thing away.
Was it our first outing together, the Watkin Path?
I think it was, yeah.
Was it?
Was it? No, it can't have been because you'd already stayed at ours by then. No, first one was December, Llanfwyn Island, when you parked the van in the yard.
That's it, yeah. Yes, mate.
Yeah. So, I mean, Gary's been. Jamie, you haven't experienced the delights of round here. I wouldn't come at the moment because the locals will kick you off the island. But when you've done the Lake District and all that stuff, have a word with her indoors, take her to Florence, all that stuff, and then say, oh, by the way, next weekend I'm off up the mountains for some photography.
Yeah, that's something on my plan, definitely. I enjoyed it last year when I came over and just to spend a few days out. And, I went to, what's that forest with the beach near the lighthouse that you went to?
Newborough.
Yeah, went down on that beach on a really busy, hot day and could see the lighthouse on the island in the distance and was desperate to go up and see it, but the rest of them didn't really want to go, so I thought, I'll bide the time and wait for another day.
I'll tell you what, the local council have closed everything. So all the beaches, all the coastline on Anglesey is completely shut down. So even the locals, if your house opens onto the beach, you're not allowed to walk on it. It's not part of the government guidelines, as the local council have said all the beaches are shut. I can kind of understand it because it discourages people from coming anyway. I know we're back on the same subject. There was a family came down the A55 on Wednesday from Liverpool, 5 of them, to go and spend the day having a picnic on the beach just over on the mainland. Somebody spotted them there with a stripy windbreak, some passing policeman, and sent them packing, but it made news around here. So I think that's why they're doing it. But I'm looking at the weather and thinking, oh, Newborough right now on the island, and you can't go.
But I must admit, I feel something today, joking aside, I have been in the garden all day today, and I am going to try and do some wildlife photography. But, my heart goes out to people that live in flats, that don't have a garden. These are the kind of people, even my son and his girlfriend, kind of in Malta, they've just got an apartment. That's it. Malta isn't actually on lockdown, but, they're not going out.
But Malta is absolutely heaving with people, isn't it? I mean, it's very crowded there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know somebody that came back from Malta a week ago Monday and brought the virus back with him. He's recovering now, but he's been really poorly for 2 weeks.
But yeah, Helen and Sam, they both share the same birthday. Their birthday's on Monday. And it's Helen's like 50th, so it's a really big deal. So we had so much planned, for this whole weekend. And obviously we can't do it. And also Sam, as a surprise, he'd already booked his tickets before Christmas. He was flying back today on the 28th, if it's the 28th today, and or tomorrow. And he was flying back to surprise Helen for her birthday. And it's just, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, because we're fine, we're all fine and healthy, but it's just scuppered so many plans for everybody. I've had so many people that are getting married, abroad in France, and obviously they can't do it. Everything's lost an absolute fortune. But really, I suppose as long as you stay safe and healthy throughout this, then it's a win, isn't it? Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're talking about locations, Dave. When are you going to come over and visit Home Fen with the three of us?
I tell you what, the minute they drop the restrictions, it's the first thing I'm doing. Because I actually really been looking forward to it. I'm coming. So first weekend after the restrictions have dropped, I'm going to come and have a look at these Fenlands with you. Definitely.
Well,
and come down and say, come down on Friday night, stop Friday and Saturday nights, have a couple of days in that neck of the woods and really make the most of it.
You're more than welcome to stay here, Dave. Bring Jan as well.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah,
I'll take you up on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, bring the pup. You'll get.
I don't think so. No way. The only reason I'm that keen to come is to get away from everything.
BB.
Oh, they've got lots of energy, haven't they, at that age?
Yeah, she's got a lot to learn, tell you.
Yeah.
That's
You've got a brown one like Owen Clark. Have you seen his brown Labrador?
Oh, yeah, would
Oh,
you?
but it's a beautiful dog, but seriously, it's as nutty as a fruitcake. It's a lovely dog, it really is. But it's just the thing's got so much energy. It really has.
We should have known better because we've had them in the past, but of course we were 15 years younger. So poor old Jan, her trousers are in tatters. She looks like Wurzel Gummidge when she goes out walking. Brilliant. And she took the dog down the lane to where the river runs across the lane. There's an old ford by the derelict mill. And the dog ran round in the river and she goes, "Come on, Winnie." And Winnie comes running up and then jumps all over her. She come back, she looked like she'd fallen in.
So did you buy the dog for the subscribers, or is it just a happy byproduct?
Oh no, I mean it's the dog probably won't feature much because I can't see myself taking it out. It's not going to be like Simon Baxter's Meg.
Well, it's not everyone who's successful has got a dog. That's the thing, isn't it?
That's in your book.
You've never seen Thomas Eaton's dog, though.
My book, yeah, my Woodland for Dummies. You don't anymore, no, but you used to. And Nigel Danson's dog, Pebbles, I mean, that is probably featured more on videos than I have, I think.
Yeah,
He's probably better at photography than I am as well. So.
Yeah, I'll
It's
just
sad that we know the names of all the bloggers' dogs.
It is, isn't it?
So there's going to be a lot of vlogs out at the moment that are all going to be about indoors and camera bags and what am I doing in my back garden and the rest of it. But I think we're going to see a lot of new vloggers join the community as well in this period of time because people are going to be a bit bored, want to try something new.
To be fair, on that subject, Jamie, you make a really good point because Thomas Heaton's last video was all about what to do during lockdown.
Yeah.
And on the UTOGS group, we have had a couple of hundred new members, but many of them doing video work, and actually, quite a few of them are really good.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, oh, give it 6 months, and they'll be the sort of people that Gary's featuring in 5 hot new vloggers to watch sort of thing, because there's some really good quality stuff. I watched a chap today who's somewhere in Missouri, kind of a nondescript area, but a really engaging guy and really interesting vlog and some nice photography as well. So, yeah, we won't be at a loss.
I think that's great that people are joining. The only trouble is the more people that joining and putting videos out there, the harder it is to watch everybody's vlogs, isn't it? Because, I know at the moment we've got time to do it, but once this finishes, if each vlog's 10, 15 minutes long, you're not going to watch that many every day. And you're soon going to have a backlog that you think, well, that's too old now because they've released another one since then.
What's anyone's thoughts on these long videos now? Because a lot of people now seem to be going for the 25-minute to even 45-minute videos. What's the reasoning behind that? Is it a better algorithm or something on YouTube?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with this, and I'm pretty sure that I'm right. YouTube used to do its algorithm by views, and so the number of clicks that your video got pushed you higher up the algorithm, if you like, higher up the list. And what happened is that you had a load of, I can't remember, there was a specific name for them, but there were these girls basically who were scantily clad, and they would comment on. They comment.
Hang on a minute, let me just type that in.
I can't remember what they were called, but they'd comment. They'd make a comment video about a popular video, and obviously because the thumbnail was them scantily clad, loads of people would go to it, which would push them really high up, and they'd make a lot of money out of it with not very good content. So people would look at it, the videos might not be very long, they'd look at it for a bit and then that'll be it. So YouTube changed their algorithm to view time. And so the people then cottoned onto that, and the longer your video is, generally, the longer people will view it for, if they like you or if it's any good. So people are pushing their videos out longer to get a longer view time, to get more views and that way push themselves up. So it's all about the amount of time now, rather than the amount of views.
I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but long videos, they actually put me off of wanting to watch. For me, the perfect video for me is about 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah. I agree.
When I get up in the morning, I've got like a routine like we all do kind of every day, and I get up and I make a pot of coffee and get everything sorted. I go out into the back room, and then I've got about half an hour between finally sitting down with me coffee to jumping in the shower. And if I can get in 2 to 3 vlogs in that kind of half an hour slot, I'm happy. If I see like a 30-minute video, I normally skip by, unless it's from somebody like Thomas Heaton, who I must admit, no matter what he puts out, I kind of genuinely like. But if I do see a 30-minute video, I just tend to think, I'll leave that for another day, and then I actually forget about it altogether.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. It's actually the first thing I look at, apart from if it's somebody that I'll always watch. So I'll jump on it no matter what the time is. But generally speaking, I'll hover over the time, and if it is anything more than sort of 18 to 20 minutes long, then I'll probably want to watch it. But when I've got more time allocated to it, so I don't know. I think there are certain people that put longer videos out, but I personally think it's a bit of a put off, really. The longer, unless the content from start to finish is really engaging, that's the key. If you are a great vlogger that can engage your audience from start to finish, then that's the sign of a good vlogger, and you're going to enjoy the vlog. But a lot of the time, it's the padding in between that you just get fed up of, and waiting that long to get to the images or the next bit of A-roll or something.
I think that's the key thing. I think that if it's 25 minutes worth of engaging content, then you'll sit and watch it. But if it's 12 minutes worth of dross, you won't watch it. I know that it can put you off the amount of time, but it's about how much filler's in there. I've been accused of putting too much filler in my own videos, as you all know. But strangely enough, too much B-roll. But I think it's about if it's engaging and people want to watch it, then people will watch it. But if it's got loads of slow motion walking past the camera, especially if you're a fat bloke, then it's not so engaging, is it? So
you taught me the art of slow motion, Gary. So
I must admit, I've never really given any thought to the algorithm, because whatever you do is probably going to be wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, I just kind of do what I do. Sometimes I'm out on the hill all day long, and I'm going to have 18, 19 minutes worth of stuff, and an awful lot doesn't make the final cut. An awful lot just, I used a phrase once, it ends up on the cutting room floor, and a really well-known vlogger said, what does that mean? And I explained it. Oh, yeah, me too. You know, so you could video an hour's worth of stuff, and you end up with 17, 18 minutes. But at the same time, plenty of my videos are 6 minutes or 8 minutes. Yeah. And I've just never really given it any thought. In terms of what I watch, the people that I like to watch, I don't care how long the video is. Same as you guys. If it's the person that is engaging content, well, great, you tune in. But yeah, it's kind of for me, I think that the thing is that it sort of doesn't matter how long the video is if it's the sort of content that you like to watch. But one thing I have noticed is that the more people that watch my stuff, for example, are not people like you. I can't teach you boys anything. So I tend to find, the most of the people that engage with my stuff are people usually, learning the ropes or interested in the locations. And it's like, oh, this guy's in Snowdonia, so we'll watch this because we want to know what it's like on the summit of Crimpiai. So there's that as well. So I don't make my videos for people like you, because I know perfectly well that probably 99% of it, you're not going to engage that much with. So that's the only thing I do, is keep an eye on who I'm making them for. So it doesn't matter how long it is. I'm always thinking there's somebody the other side of my A-roll camera when I'm talking who's hanging on every word because he wants to learn how to do this stuff or where to park to go up this particular ridge. And so that's the only thing that I bear in mind. I don't care about the algorithm. That does what it does. But I found that's helpful, and it took me a long time to learn that, a really long time. Because, but when I did, that's when I started getting a bit of traction.
It's interesting that you say that, Dave, in terms of you're thinking that your viewers are watching your vlogs to learn something. I think that a lot of them probably are, you're right, but I think a lot of them are watching them because of you as a personality, and they enjoy watching you out in the landscape. But I never look at my vlogs and think people are watching it because they want to learn anything. I'm probably looking at it, but they're watching it because they might like to see an area of the world they don't see a lot of, and therefore they're interested in it, or they might live local and therefore they like to see something that means something to them, or an area that they've been to themselves. But yeah, it's just interesting what you said about your thought is that your viewers are wanting to learn something from you. I don't think that at all. I just think I'm just sharing my journey out with the camera, taking a few shots. If they like the shots, great. It's more about just showing them what I'm doing, really.
So, but I have actually watched all three of your videos, or you three guys. Sometimes I think, where should I go this weekend? Or I look for some inspiration, and I've actually clicked on all three of your channels in the past, just to get a flavour of kind of where to go. Like Wyoming Brookgall, that was purely from you, and you'll see it in the video. I actually kind of used some of your footage. I did ask you, by the way.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
But then I was meant to go to Home Fen last weekend, just before the lockdown, Joe, and I was looking at your video for that then. And obviously, Dave, you go without saying, because obviously we go up to the mountains quite a bit. But I think people do actually look at kind of our videos possibly for ideas on where to go. Having said that, I think you look at perhaps the videos that get the most number of hits, and they are normally tuition videos or teaching us something. Today I was trying to do some wildlife. I was looking at YouTube videos purely for settings. When I saw how many kind of hits these guys had, 25, 30, 50,000 K hits, purely on settings. But, I don't do it for that. I do it because I like documenting my travels, and it's nice when I'm not going to lie, when your subscriber count goes up or your views go up, but I wouldn't change what I was doing to try and get more views, or because I'm never going to earn a living out of this. Do you know what I mean? So I do it because I want to do it. I do it because I enjoy it, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
I think as well, though, I think that the whole tuition thing it's for me personally, I think it's a really dangerous path to go down, because obviously I would say all four of us are capable of teaching people to a certain level, but the problem is that when you watch certain videos, it's like, I'll watch someone, I'm not going to mention who it was, but I watched this guy, he's only been vlogging for a little while, and I was like, oh, do you know what, I'm actually quite enjoying it. He puts out quite a lot of vlogs, I'm quite enjoying it. And then he mentioned that he was going to start doing one-to-ones and workshops, and I was like, literally, oh, please don't, because it's like, you've only been doing this for 5 minutes, and it's like, I just think the whole thing around vlogging for me, and I'm probably a bit of a purist, but don't do it to make money out of it. Do it because you love it, and if money comes from your love, then that's fine. But as soon as this guy said, "Oh, I'm going to start doing one-to-ones and workshops," I was like, I'm switched off now. I still watch him, but I'm switched off to him as a person, because clearly he only started vlogging just literally to start to make money from one-to-ones and workshops. And it's like, you're not at that level though. You're not, someone like Dave, or in fact any of you three guys, if you said, I'm going to do one-to-ones and workshops, I know you already are doing them, Dave, but if you said, I'm going to do that, then that's fine, and I completely get that, because you've been vlogging a long time and your output kind of says, yes, fair enough, I'm good enough to do it. But there's so many people who come into this and they vlog for 5 minutes, and you look at their photos and they're like, I'm sorry, they're not up to that level. Please don't start trying to give other people tuition and tell them how to do it. It's not fair. I don't think it's right. So I think it's a really
I must admit, you make a good point, and on that point, I don't advertise it in my videos. I've never, said that, oh, I'll do a workshop with you. It all started because somebody contacted me and said, do you do workshops? So I wrote back like about 5 seconds later, oh yeah, of course I do. No problem at all. Where do you want to go? And that's how it all came about. But I wouldn't dream of because my video output, it's kind of like what Darren was just saying, is that, I make videos because I enjoy it. I like the process of making videos. I mean, you know perfectly well, Gary, the amount of stuff that I've poached off of you in terms of how to produce videos, how to edit them, the 4 seconds, the 8 seconds. Today, the video that went up earlier this afternoon, I'm sat there going, yeah, that's a 4 seconds. Oh, I can make that in 8 seconds. Yeah, well, I've got an 8 seconds now, so I can only have another couple of 4 seconds, and that's that montage sorted. So I do it because I really enjoy it.
I love 4 seconds, 8 seconds, Norman. You ain't told me about this.
Yeah, you can't learn about that.
So it's for another video.
This is tutorial vlog coming up.
Oh, listen, don't say anything, Gary. Don't tell the boys.
Listen,
there's a community going on here, mate.
Guys, I'll tell you exactly anything you want to know. £20 an hour. All right, I can't say fairer than that.
Do you do workshops?
Yeah, no, but I do one-to-ones.
I'm thinking about doing some park and shoots in Snowdonia.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, when I go back next time, actually.
We're not going down that road. I'm in enough trouble as it is. We're not going down that road.
Look at that. Look. The lovely Mrs. G has just furnished me with another barrel of gin. That was me texting her earlier when we were talking. I was on the phone ordering drinks.
Is that what you was doing?
Yeah.
You're outrageous, Mr. Griffith.
I know, I'm sorry. But she is so lovely. I knew she'd bring it in, and she was not going to come around here and go on camera.
Darren's gone.
He's gone to the toilet.
Don't forget to wash your hands.
There you go.
Has he really gone for a...
Yeah, he has. Yeah. Well, we are in the boozer. He can do. They're open.
Yes, but I've got a catheter. I went to a lot of trouble.
It's got no staying power, that's the problem. It's got no staying power. Once you open that seal, that's it, you're in deep trouble.
He's so funny up Snowdon on a ridge, trying to stop it blowing all over himself. Brilliant.
Now this is staying in. The other stuff we can cut out, but this stuff's definitely staying in. Oh dear. I'll tell you what I was going to say, right, which might be interesting, is if you guys have got any funny stories to tell, right? And I got a story that I tell a lot of people, and it's not related at all to photography, right? It's related to cricket, which is another thing that I love that I can't do anymore. And basically, So I was playing cricket, and there's this new guy. By the way, if he's watching, he won't be watching. But hello, Dan. I don't like you very much anyway. No, I do. He's all right actually. I'm only joking. But there's this guy who came to the club called Dan, right? And he was winding me up all through nets and all through pre-season. He was winding me. He's a bit arrogant. I didn't really get on very well with him, and he took my spot in the slips, right, for this one particular game, and dropped about 4 catches. Anyway, so like I come out to bat, right, and we're chasing down some total, right, and I hit a 4, right, and I can hear from the sidelines, moo, right, and I'm like, he's taking a mick at me, because like it's, you know, cow corner in cricket. It's like if you hit a really sort of agricultural shot, they call it cow corner. So every time I ended up hitting a shot for 4, I'd hear moo, and I'm like, I'm getting really wound up with this Dan, and I'm like, and I'm saying to the guy at the other end, I'm like, if he keeps going on, I'm going to go over there and hit him with his cricket bat. Right, so I hit another shot, moo, and I'm like, I've just about enough of this guy. Anyway, I finally got out, walked over to him, and I was like, what are you taking a piss, mate? Like, every time I hit a shot, you're going moo. And he's like, it's not me. And I'm like, I know it's you. I know you're doing it just to wind me up. And then just that literal minute, a cow in the other field went moo. So it was like, it wasn't him at all. It was a cow. It was unbelievable. So come on, you guys must have a funny story. So what funny stories have you got? Come on. Let's hear one. Come on. Now I've embarrassed myself.
None.
Oh, come
on. No, it's just you.
I'll think about one for next time.
Right. Yeah. You think about one for next time. Jamie, you got anything?
No, nothing that springs to mind, but I'll have a think about it for next time.
All right.
I have got a childhood embarrassment one. Good. I went to, the first couple of years of school was a private school, but then they closed it down because they were going to build a housing estate. So I got transferred to a state school about 7 years old. And pretty much the first week I was there, I'm sat in my desk and I'm a bit nervous, don't know anybody yet. And the teacher stands up at the front and says, out and about. And these kids got up and started like milling round. And so I thought, oh, okay then. So I got up and wandered aimlessly around the classroom. At which point the kids kind of formed a queue by the teacher's desk, ready to read the next passage from their book called Out and About. I'm still milling around aimlessly, all by myself. To this day, I was embarrassed at age 7, but yeah. But she didn't explain.
That's right, because it should have called your vlog. You could call your vlogs Out and About with Dave Griffiths, couldn't you?
Oh, no, it's too cringy. I hate it. Okay. Anyway.
I guess on that we should wrap it up for tonight, because we've been going for a while. So, have you guys enjoyed this?
Yeah, but by the time you've edited it, you've got about 7 minutes.
No, we haven't been that bad. We haven't been that bad. I've only slagged off several people, but we won't mention any names. We won't mention any names.
I think next time we'll bring more beer though, because I've ran out halfway through.
Yeah, me too. I've done both.
Really? Oh, I've not opened it yet, but this is my third, so I was just about to open this now. So there's a
thing to do, Jamie, is text your wife.
Yeah. I think I'll probably get a different response to you though, Dave. Really?
Yeah, me too. You wouldn't get the beer in a glass, would you?
No.
Over your head. All right. Well, look. Right. Thanks everyone for watching. And we'll definitely be back. Well, we might be back depending on how well this goes down next week. And we'll bring some more beers and we'll have another chat. And eventually, hopefully, guys, we'll do a live stream. I think that's the plan, isn't it? And then maybe we can get a few people involved. And also, we'll be chatting about maybe including a couple, maybe 1 or 2 other people.
Yeah.
Like actually, like get them to Skype in and we can have a chat as well. So if you're interested in that,
doors open.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. And
who do we want though? I mean, we don't want anyone that's too good, do we?
No,
Darren, he was wrapping it up nicely, and you wouldn't let it lie.
Anyone that's too good, we can have Manny Davis, we can have James Burns. Right? We'll have them two. Them two are a given. Who else?
How about no one over 5,000 subs, Dave?
Oops. Well, it's been a pleasure.
No, anyone wants to.
yeah, if anyone wants to join us next time, then we thought we'd keep.
As long as Darren likes them, you can join.
Yeah, providing I like you, then you're more than welcome. But
What's your name's Mally or Dave? James, sorry. Mally or James, you're in. You're all right.
maximum of 5 of us.
Yeah, I think so.
So us 4 plus one other.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it could be. I think tonight a few times we spoke over one another. So I think if it was any more than 5, we could just be kind of flitting around everywhere. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get someone in, or if anyone's interested, and we'll go through the vetting process. Make sure you've washed your hands, especially if you go off to the loo. Can't really be having that on a podcast, can we?
I just washed my hands.
Because the thing is, when you go to the loo, you don't know what's been said.
Back to the all times where I could just piss all over my hands and then shake people's hands coming out the pub toilet. That's what I want. Cut that out.
Anyway.
Do you want me to send you a few audio clips of this?
Yeah, please do, yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time, maybe with someone else, maybe not. Maybe we'll never see you again, but hopefully we will. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.